and welcome to KnightHunter Books. Today we're going to be doing a if you like this then you'll probably like this video, SFF themed. This is one of the topics of the SFF Awards Babbles. We'll put a link down below of the Goodreads group where you can see all of the topics that are going on. Without further ado.
Recently we hauled Bill Gibson's Neuromancer, one of the foundational texts in cyberpunk, dating from 1984. So I haven't reread it recently, but I suspect it's probably a little outdated. If you want something a bit more up to date and maybe a bit more left-leaning, Equations of Life by Simon Morden was released in 2011 and is a cyberpunk series set in a post-apocalyptic London where nukes have gone off, America has descended into a reclusive theocracy, who would think?
That'll never happen.
Features a Russian living in London who is a survivor. He's hardened by his life and he just keeps his head down and keeps on keeping on, and then he gets involved, which is a pretty standard sort of noir protagonist setup, quite common in cyberpunk. There was an original trilogy which has since been extended with further books. I think I've got 5 of his books, and he's not an author I see talked about a lot, and yeah, they're good fun.
There's a film that's recently come out based on this book, Annihilation by VanderMeer, so I'm hoping a few people will have heard of it more than when it was initially released.
First thing to say is, if you like the film, maybe try the book.
Yes, definitely. And then if you like the book, which is very much new weird, bio-horror, just very strange, then I suggest you try The Beauty by Aliya Whiteley. Now this is from quite a small press, so I definitely haven't heard it talked about very much. And this is very much in the same vein, and they reminded me a lot of each other. Even though the plot is very different, just the atmosphere and
similar
the
in tone.
Creeping dread.
This one's probably got more about gender explicitly in it.
Definitely. So while Annihilation does follow a group of 4 women, it's not really about the women, it's more about the place they go exploring. In this story, then, all women everywhere, as far as we know, have caught a fungal disease and have died. And this is a world, therefore, entirely without women. And we follow a storyteller who very much is trying to keep alive these memories they have of women, and there's a lot of focus in this book about the roles women have in society. So it's really interesting in that respect. But I also think great for fans of VanderMeer or Wyndham as well.
Naomi Novik has been getting a lot of attention recently for Uprooted. However, she first came to prominence, as far as I'm aware, with Temeraire, a Napoleonic War series featuring dragons. If you've ever read Temeraire and thought, you know what, there's not enough dragons. Tooth and Claw by Joe Walton is, I gather, a scene-for-scene retelling of a Regency comedy of manners, where all of the main characters are in fact dragons. In part this is used to give sort of basis and, you know, some sort of reason to some of the social mores of the time. The requirement for chaperones at all time actually in this has biological basis, because young women are visibly marked by time around men.
Game of Thrones is now considered pretty much a classic of the genre, except for the fact that it doesn't really have very much magic and it's much more about the political intrigue. The book I'd like to recommend if you like the Game of Thrones series but maybe think the characters aren't particularly diverse and you really love those bits where Tyrion just gets to pull all the political strings, is Traitor, or Traitor Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson, which is not really got any magic, although it does feel like it's from the fantasy genre, and where most of this book, the first in a series, follows an accountant as she tries to use policy to control a country.
Verging towards sort of competence porn. Watching somebody who is very good at what they do it at the very highest levels in order to worm her way into the heart of the regime that killed her 3 parents.
It's very backstabby and like twists and turns, but also has a lot more representation of different kinds of cultures. They're not all
They're not all feudal Europe.
Yeah, it actually feels a little more global, and some of the cultures have developed different social norms, especially with regard to gender and sexuality, which is nice to see.
If you like The Diamond Age by Neal Stephenson, a thriller first and foremost, but discursive, as all of Stevenson's books are, with sort of random asides where he basically goes, I've done all this research and I think it's really cool, so I'm going to tell you about it, and yet somehow manages to keep a reasonably rapid pace, then I think you will like Angelmaker by Nick Harkaway, which is a similarly weighty tome, which somehow manages to smash together a sort of noir crime type story with a period spy drama with a load of stuff about philosophy and free will. And it's got quite a pulpy feel to it as well, rather than some of the more sort of technology elements of Stephenson. It's a rollicking, fast-paced read that is really quite weird. Features a 90-year-old female protagonist who is an ex-spy, and her life has gotten far more quiet and boring than she ever wanted it to be. She expected to, die gloriously in combat, and she lives in a 1-bedroom council flat with her dog, taking 17 pills a day.
If you've got any suggestions that can bounce off our suggestions, then that would be really fun.
Or if you've seen anybody link the other way, just to get confirmation that we've got the right sort of idea.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.